let's talk right now to Roy Ramm. He's the former commander of Specialist Operations at New Scotland Yard, and talk about these horrific events last night in Liverpool at the very tail end of that amazing victory parade, full of happiness and joy and laughter and family fun, celebrating the Premier League victory, which turned to horror when a car ploughed into people. 47 people hurt, 27 of those needing hospital treatment, 4 people trapped under a car, including a child, and 4 children among those who were taken to hospital. Thankfully, and goodness knows how, nobody has died as a result. But a man, a 53-year-old man, described by the police as a white British man from the Liverpool area, has been arrested. Roy Ramm, first of all, just what did you make of I'm using the word attack because that's what it would have felt like to the people who suddenly had a car rammed into them. But the fact that a driver of a car was able to be within what was clearly an area that was supposed to be pedestrianised for this parade and able to cause such horrific devastation and tragedy.
Yeah, I just preface my remarks by sharing your concerns and the tragedy of the event and the trauma that everybody involved in it has gone through. And as you rightly say, we're very lucky that nobody died. I think it kind of flags up the difficulties that police forces have in closing off cities for large events. I mean, you know, we've seen it before at the Notting Hill Carnival and other very big events where you've got hundreds of thousands of people on the streets. Cities are very difficult to close off. And, you know, I guess the police in Merseyside will be looking to see if they could have done more to put the barriers up, etc., if they'd have been strong enough. But, you know, the simple fact remains is that this man got into a road in this vehicle, and it ended up being, you know, I choose my words carefully, but like a weapon. And once it goes down the road at that pace, you're talking about something that weighs a couple of tons. Yeah. It is more dangerous than a firearm.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this being done deliberately in the past in terror attacks, not just in Britain, but across Europe as well. I think, understandably, an awful lot of people's first concern, I imagine it would have been of the police. I mean, you know, you were in Specialist Operations in New Scotland Yard. I would have thought, the first thought was this may well be a terror attack, and the modus operandi chosen by Islamist extremisms. That would have been the obvious first thought for anyone. Not racist or bigoted, for anyone to think, oh, it might be someone who's motivated by Islamist extremism. We're told by the police in a very detailed press conference about 11 o'clock last night that they do not believe there is a terror motive. They are not searching for anyone else, and that this man had been arrested. We haven't had a charge brought as yet. Of course, lots of it was caught on video, lots of different angles, lots of people at the scene as well. But were the police right to release details in which they said he was a 53-year-old white British man who'd been arrested in connection with this? I mean, the white and the British. I've looked at Merseyside Police's previous announcements, their tweets and others about various different arrests they've made and charges they've brought in the last month on social media. They never mention the colour of the skin or the nationality of the person. Why did they do so in this case?
Yeah, Julian, I think if you look beyond Merseyside and look at police announcements generally, there is a great reluctance to describe ethnicity in particular.
It's irrelevant.
Well, yeah, it is. But in this particular case, if you look at what happened after Southport, where there were assumptions made by a lot of people that turned out to be completely wrong, I think Merseyside police were absolutely terrified that people were going to assume that this was Islamic terrorism, that there was a particular ethnic group who was sitting behind this. And, you know, you had this huge crowd of people who were you know, emotionally invested in the day, and I hate to think what might have happened if that kind of suspicion had run through social media and people had come to the wrong conclusion. So I think in this particular case it was absolutely the right decision to take.
That's very interesting, because we were told in, you know, select committee hearings, Chief Constable of Merseyside back in January, she claimed that she wanted to give out more information that was given out about Axel Rudakabana in the immediate aftermath of his arrest on the 29th of July last year of the Southport attacks, but it was the CPS that advised them not to, and even when he was charged, not as much information given out as we've had here within hours. I mean, this was given out, I mean, very, very quickly.
Very quickly.
But so what is the concern? So the idea is that if people think it's a black, Asian or Muslim man or an immigrant, we're immediately all going to go on the streets and riot, because it seems to me that what happened at post Southport, the riots weren't until the evening after the information had gone out that it was a man from Cardiff, born in Britain. But the key thing was it was the lack of information and the feeling that information was being kept from us deliberately. And indeed, it was later, because we were not told about the ricin being found or the terror manual, the Al-Qaeda terror manual, when we were told repeatedly this was not a terror-related incident. And he wasn't charged until some months later in October with ownership of those items, which were possessing that manual is a terror-related crime.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I absolutely understand the distinction that you're making and the concerns that you're articulating. But look, what you had here were dozens of people, hundreds of people with smartphones who were filming the incident. So there wasn't much doubt that it was a white guy, driving the car of a certain age. And I think the confirmation of that was, was legitimate. But I do think that you're right, and I share your concern that, we shouldn't be saying, well, this time around it was a white guy, don't worry about it,
That was the implication, wasn't it?
No, I get it. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, and that's the concern, isn't it? What information should be given out? I was saying to you earlier on, I was a news reporter, used to cover court cases, and you'd write about a case and you knew what you could or couldn't write when arrest had been made or charges were imminent, or what, and there's detail you can put in the local paper, and there's stuff you sometimes do have to put in. If someone's name is, say, John Smith, and you say, John Smith of Brookland Avenue, and there's two John Smiths in Brookland Avenue, you could be sued by the other John Smith. So you have to give more detail to make sure you're not being sued for libel by someone else. I mean, there's lots of information that can be given out. Do you think the police largely get it right, or do you think actually there's a lot of pressure that goes on behind the scenes politically from the CPS, from who we kid in government, even with the Southport riots? Look, the government was saying nothing to do with us, Gov. Policing is up to the police leaders. But the Prime Minister's gone on telly, and so has the Home Secretary, saying we expect to come down like a ton of bricks on these people. There is a political angle behind these things always, isn't there?
So, Julia, I don't know if you can hear me, but I lost the link.
I'm sorry. Oh, you can guess what I said. Is there a lot of political stuff going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, of course there is. Chief officers are subject to direction from, in London it's the mayor and the Home Secretary. Across the country it is the Home Secretary. So to say that there is no political influence is nonsense.
Yeah.
They largely have autonomy, but at the end of the day they can be sacked, and there is a good degree of political direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really good to talk to you, Roy. Thank you very much indeed.